Hello and welcome back to Yoga with Nikki C. That's me. We today are going to have just the last of our kind of three-part little beginner get you going series. After you've maybe done sun salutations, or you could do this completely on your own without having done anything else. This could just be your practice today. So as we get situated on the mat, and again, it doesn't have to be a mat. If you just want to stay on the floor in your bedroom, you don't have a mat, that's okay. You don't have to have a lot of special equipment to do yoga. Right, so you can take a folded up blanket. I happen to have this, what we usually refer to as a yoga blanket, but you could take any blanket in your house, or maybe little soft pillows or throw pillows from your couch, and place that underneath you. So it just kind of helps elevate the sit bones or the hips a little bit more as well. So that's something I like to do. You don't have to. You can also take blocks, or again, couch pillows or rolled up hand towels, and place underneath the knees. If your knees don't come out quite this far and you feel like you need some support, or you have any kind of hip issues, this may feel better, right? To keep them a little supported and elevated. Honestly, right now that feels really, really good to me. So I'm just gonna leave them there. So just find a space that feels good for you, that you feel like you have less strain or tension. And we do want to be able to kind of move forward just a little bit though, so you don't feel like you're rounding back. So lifting up nice and tall, and the shoulders rolling back and down. So let's just take a moment here with palms resting up, and you could honestly do this seated in a chair as well. All right, so you can follow along. If getting on the floor doesn't feel right for you, just sit down on a chair today. So let's close the eyes, taking a few moments here just to kind of slow down the heart, slow down the breath. With the breath moving slowly, the heart rate will reduce. So this is a very nice way to kind of calm your parasympathetic nervous system. So all that really means is that nervous system that's moving in the background that you don't really think about, that continues to kind of keep you alive throughout the day, right? It's your heart rate, it's your blood pressure, your internal organs functioning, everything's kind of moving in the background. So it also is our calming nervous system. So I want you to take a nice, slow, steady breath in through the nose. Let the belly rise. Out through the nose. Let the belly fall. Shoulders staying back and down. So that just means pull them back a little bit. And then see if you can press them away from your ears. So by slowing down our heart rate and slowing down our breath, it just releases calming, what's the right word today? It releases the calming hormones and chemicals and everything into our body and for our brain. That's the simplest way to put it. So it's those anti-stress chemicals. So let's continue here. A couple more deep breaths. Try if you can fill up your breath all the way to the lowest part of your belly and up to your sternum. Feel the middle of your back expanding. Slowly release the breath in the same way. Find a softness in the back of your throat. Your tongue sitting away from the teeth, just kind of suspended and softly floating in your mouth. So continue here, feeling as though the back of your neck is very long, the back of your head could slide up a wall, and your shoulders are floating over your hips. Your eyes may remain closed, and we'll just let the hands come out to the sides, just resting on the floor beside you, letting your head fall to the left, as though your ear could just drop right over your shoulder. Try to keep no tension through your lower body. So even if your legs are resting on something, sometimes we have a tendency to try to feel like we need to lift them a little. I want you just to let them become heavy. And come back to center with a breath in. And exhale, head over to the other side. Again, taking a deep breath in, coming back to center, and letting your head fall gently forward. We're going to stay here, maybe about 5 breaths or so. So try to lengthen your breath out, like you're sipping it in slowly, and then even slower releasing it through the nose. Just like gravity, draw the head forward. Last breath or two here. Try to let your shoulders stay heavy and relaxed. We'll slowly begin to return back up to center. Maybe just fluttering the eyes open if you like to have a visual point here. Okay, so you can keep your blocks or pillows or towels or anything you might have there. I'm going to release mine for now. So we'll sweep up, big reach up, taking your left hand over to one side and just pause. So kind of reach it out as far as you can and keep your right hip pressing down. As you're reaching over, softly bend your bottom elbow, but it may not be a lot. It's okay. Just take it to where it feels comfortable for you and maybe straighten out that top arm a little more if that feels okay. If this doesn't feel good, you could always bring your hand down to your shoulder or your hip. Okay, we're just looking for this kind of lateral movement or side movement where we're getting nice stretch and release on the outside of your waist. And we'll come back up to center, sweeping to the other side. So take a moment and really press down through your left sit bone. So when we say sit bones, we're literally talking about the bones that are pressing right beneath you and through your left hip and thigh, down toward the floor. You're reaching to the right. So really, if you think about that, that's union of opposites, right? Pressing down left, reaching right, come back up. And those union of opposites are really what yoga is about, right? So connecting two things together. So hatha, meaning that kind of solar, lunar connection. Take a deep breath. Just trying to connect our mind, our body, unions of opposites, moving different directions. Let's take another big deep breath, come up. We're going to take your left hand, place it behind you just slightly. Your right hand can move across or stay on the same knee. I want you to always move within the range of motion that feels right for you. Pull your left shoulder back and see if you can turn your shoulders. So hips staying very steady, your sit bones still grounded toward the floor. Sometimes we tend to lean into this. I want you to shift back a little to your right side. Continue to breathe. I know it's a little harder here to breathe, more challenging. Try to breathe into your rib cage a little. Down low, and then exhale, maybe pull the left shoulder just a tiny bit more back. Your head can turn just slightly. Just kind of gazing. Come back around to center. Slowly moving, right hand back, inhale. Lift through the heart. Exhale, rotate. Take another breath and kind of move that right shoulder back. Maybe look back a little further, never straining or forcing. It's like we're just kind of wringing out the spine and wringing out the internal organs. When we come back around, getting nice fresh supply up the spine and new blood into the organs. So I want you to shift. Which leg is in front? Sitting up very tall. Once again, hands toward the knees. If it feels uncomfortable at any point to keep your knees bent in this position, go ahead and open the legs a little. Maybe place your hands behind the legs, or they could stay on top of the knees as well, but I like behind. It anchors better. All right, so we're back to that opposite foot in front or with feet on the floor. Inhale, lift your heart, let your tail rise just slightly behind you. And exhale, rounding out. So as you round out, you can drop your chin toward chest. I want you to really pull your belly towards spine. Don't think so much about having to really push your spine back, but just kind of naturally let your spine move in between the shoulders here without overarching in your back. And then exhale, pulling back and just kind of rounding out, chin toward chest. So we could refer to this as our seated cat-cow. We'll do that on the hands and knees as well. It's just a nice way to move your spine. And then also at the same time, we're lubricating the joints of the shoulders and the hips with movement forward and back. Let's take one more here. This is something you could do seated in a chair as well. So everything we're doing, we really could still do if we were just in a chair. So your hands would just be resting on top of your knees if you were seated in a chair. Come back to center. And let's go ahead and come into a tabletop, so that position of hands and knees. If you feel like you need extra cushion, take an extra blanket. It could be a throw blanket or anything you have with your space that you're in. And you can place that underneath your knees. Sometimes it's a little bit too much pressure to have your knees directly on the floor, so just go ahead and accommodate that. So now moving through your cat-cow from your hands and knees. Let the belly fall, shoulders roll back. Exhale, really round up. Think of a Halloween cat, arching its back, pulling up, lifting. And then release. So notice here what's happening. First with your foundation of your hands. Your fingers might be rotating out a little bit, or they might be kind of straight forward. So just kind of notice maybe the creases of your wrist. Sometimes that's a good indicator, right? If the creases are parallel to the front of your mat, that might feel good for you. Sometimes it just feels really good to turn them out more. So I want you to move to the level that feels appropriate. Listen to your body. Maybe you don't know yet, but you'll learn. Okay? You can even make a little soft fist. If it bothers your wrist, if you have maybe conditions such as carpal tunnel, it might feel better just to make a soft fist here. So take last one here, just letting the tail rise. Think of just kind of releasing down, literally sagging, but not over compressing. And then exhale, round it out. Pull belly up into spine, let your head fall. Maybe even shake your head around a little and shake your hips from side to side. That's when I start to find all those little spaces that I didn't know needed moving. Okay, come back into center. Let's reach the hands forward, press your hips back, and here we are, just in a nice extended child's pose. Inhale, moving forward. Go ahead and let your chest float to about the level of your wrists, and then press back again. So you'll look like you're in kind of a modified plank on the knees. So we inhale, not past shoulder-wrist alignment, and without letting your hips drop down. Okay, now if you feel like eventually you like to let your hips come down further, do so with caution and care, and notice how you're feeling. So that's not that it's a wrong thing to do. We're always looking at safe and unsafe. So I don't like to really think of something as being right or wrong, just is it safe? Right? So if it's safe and it feels good to you, you do you. It's okay. It's all good. All right, so now take this last one, come up. Let's walk the knees forward. Finding your way, maybe sweeping feet out or crossing ankles. Just find a way to come back. And we'll roll all the way back on the mat. So we're really working on finding this kind of spinal extension here, okay, throughout this particular practice, and kind of getting the spine moving in all directions, but especially here with the spinal extension. So bridging, it's one of the most beneficial things I think we can do for our spine and for our back posterior chain. So the muscles across the back side of your body. So shoulders pulling back and down. Let's draw the tail slightly under. I want you to try to keep your nose toward the sky. So if you need to look at me for any reason, make sure your hips are down, please. Okay, so we start to draw under and lift up, never moving to the point of pain or pinching or discomfort. And then we're going to lower it back down. So I want you to see if you could keep your feet parallel.
Or if for any reason, if you're kind of constructed, if your legs and feet are constructed in a way that turning them slightly out feels better, but your knees are parallel, fine. I'm all for that. So whatever feels right for you, but as long as your knees aren't splaying out, right? So if I were to take them too far, I would splay out. Not to say again that that's bad or wrong. It's just not my intention right now. All right, so I want you to try to keep your knees parallel, shoulders pulled back, inhale, lift up. When you get to the top, notice if you feel a little compression in your low back. If so, drop down a little, and I want you to see if you can draw your tail under, maybe a tiny bit more, and keep that action as you lift, and you'll notice your glutes really have to fire off here, and then lower back down. So never go to the point that you're feeling pain, discomfort, or pinching, especially if you have any conditions, say such as an SI joint issue, low back, lumbar spine, compression, maybe sciatica, anything like that that feels like it's starting to get aggravated. This is a good exercise for these conditions, but if you're inflamed, it may not feel good, and I want you to move to the range that feels right for you, right? So maybe they're very small, tiny ones. Maybe you lift up like a little half bridge, like a nice little slope, and slowly lower down. So let's take 2 more here, shoulders back. Notice we're also placing weight in the back of your arms and back of your shoulders. And up, lower it down. You feel any over compression in your knees, I want you to just walk your feet away from you, maybe a half a step forward. See if that fixes the situation. Lift. And then press it or lower it down. So resting here, let's take the feet out just a little wider, dropping one knee in and then the other. So we're just doing kind of a little reverse windshield wiper here. And then bring the feet back in just maybe a step or so, and now let them fall out to the sides. Both knees dropping the same direction. And take a nice big deep breath. And we'll move to center. Go ahead and cross the right ankle up over the left leg. That might be all you want today, just to as far as you want to go. Foot is flexed, knee is out. You can stay right here. If you like to float your bottom foot off the mat and draw it towards you, take that option, and our right hand can thread through the triangle. Left hand goes around the back, and we just hold on to the leg. Now, if you're here and you're feeling like you're kind of struggling to hold, you can also take a hand towel or a strap of some sort and a scarf or something and place it through here instead of your hands. And just hold that so that your shoulders can drop down. So I want you to get used to doing what feels right for you and your body. Don't feel like you need to struggle. You can place that foot, left foot, on a wall or on a piece of furniture and have hands free. So you could take a lot of different options here. I don't want you struggling. This should be beneficial and not stressful. That's kind of the opposite of what we're looking for. So take another deep breath. See if your right knee might move away from you a little more as your left leg draws towards you just a little more. And then release. Switching sides. So a little figure 4, or sometimes we'll call this reclining pigeon pose. So it's a variation that can be a little more accommodating than a traditional like pigeon prep pose. And if you're not even sure what that is, don't worry about it. And please don't Google it, because then you'll be like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm not doing that. But you can look at it if you want. All right, so remember, it's pigeon prep. It's not the actual full pigeon pose, but we would be on the floor with this leg in front of us, this leg behind us. It's way more intense, sometimes not even appropriate, right, for most people. So you need to decide what feels right for you. And this is one we could do seated in a chair as well. So again, everything we've done, we could do in a chair. Maybe not the bridges. I haven't figured that one out. But that would be more of our cat-cow. Take one more breath. Your feet are very active. So when I say active, this is not active, right? Active means you're pushing energy through them and pulling the toes back and pushing out through your heels. So lower back down. Release. Just take that little sway again, and whenever you're ready, drawing knees into chest, Again, you can hold on here behind the legs or take that towel or a strap or a scarf, whatever you might have, and loop it behind your legs and hold. So if it's a little cumbersome to hold your legs here, find something that will do the work for you, or put your feet on a wall again or a piece of furniture so that you can then just kind of scoot your bottom up to it and your knees will pull towards your chest without you having to take much effort. So I like it behind the legs. Some people like on top. It really is your choice. This just allows me to feel like I can pull them in a little deeper. And just take a little rock there, side to side. And then we'll just take a moment bringing the feet down. You can let your legs slide out down the mat, arms out to the sides. And I'm going to take just a moment, a few rounds of breath here of more traditional Shavasana. And also just translating into like corpse pose, or our final relaxation we'll refer to most of the time. But it's a really nice pose, sometimes the hardest pose of all, because you have to be still and quiet and let your mind relax. So just feel yourself get heavy here, close your eyes. Big deep breath, and then exhale it out through your mouth like a sigh. Let yourself deflate, become heavy, feel supported, feel safe, feel secure. Knowing that the only options that you have sometimes is to change your thoughts about how you feel. And that's still choice. It's your power. It's how we move through and get through situations, maybe stressful times of maybe there's health conditions, other events happening in your life that you need to move through. You can't always go around. So know that you can do that with your breath. You can do that by changing how you think and feel, and breathe through it. I want you to wiggle your fingers and your toes, bring your feet back to the mat. Take a little journey over to one side with your knees bent, and gently bring yourself up. Coming back up to seated with me for a moment, and we will end our practice here today. So bringing the hands once again to heart center. Take a moment and bow to your own inner guide. Thank you once again for showing up, being here with me, and I will see you again very soon. Always feel free to leave me comments and questions or any observations that you have, and I'll be happy to get back with you as soon as I can. So I'm here for you. Have a great day.